You ready to talk about money?
Yes.
Welcome to Between the Studs, and I have the original stud, right? Chris is here with me today, and this podcast is going to be a little less visual. Actually, these deep dive podcasts are one of my favorite, really. And we're talking about the financing of Lego. Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, so Justin and I were having this conversation the other day, and Justin was like, "Oh, this is really interesting stuff. We should do a podcast about it." And I was like, "Okay, well, hopefully I can remember what I said."
So when we first got the first small portion of the giant Florida haul, if you haven't seen that already, there's a bunch of videos about it. Chris and I just had a conversation about how you finance Lego, how you kind of open a business, make it a business. And it was really interesting stuff. And I said, we should talk about this. And the other thing that sparked the idea is all this stuff in the media recently about how Lego is worth more than gold. You hear this sometimes. I've heard that about coffee. Coffee is worth more than the weight of gold and things like that. So we will address that as well. But first of all, I want to ask you, what makes you an expert? Why are you here, sir?
Other than owning a relatively successful building brick toy store, large building brick toy store.
The largest one in the world.
Which could be debatable.
Yeah.
You know, somebody did say, so locally, I'm in a Facebook group. You know, I need to know if people are saying good things about us, bad things. Hey, where can I buy Lego around here? It's like, oh, hey, Atlanta Brick Co. And somebody did say, where could I take a 7-year-old or something like that? And I was like, oh, you should take them to Atlanta Brick Co. They're the world's largest, like I'm just speaking from a third party, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and they're the world's largest Lego store because people aren't going to understand what a building brick is. It's Lego. We're not allowed to say Lego. But in a Facebook group, I'm going to say Lego. So she said, somebody else commented, no, you're not. You're cool. Your store is cool and all, but the Leicester Square in England shop, Leicester, somebody will correct me, the Leicester or something like that, Square in England. And I've been there a couple of times, by the way. I have no idea how to pronounce it. That shop is the biggest in the world or something like that.
It is the biggest Lego store.
And I pulled up pictures of it, and it is a big space. Right? And it's about the same space that we have. So it's not like it's that much bigger, if it is. But their space is, like, they have, like, giant models on display. And they have a very open space for people to move around in. And a lot of empty walls. It's very visually pleasing in that regard. Because it is a corporate retail store. When you come in our store, we have Lego from floor to ceiling, and we're trying to figure out how we can fill in all the little gaps with Lego. And we probably have 1,000 times more product than that world's largest Lego store has. I didn't really want to get in an argument on Facebook with her, but I said, I tried to explain that in as few words as I could.
Well, you've often described it to me in that way, that we are the largest by number of items. Maybe not of physical space, but the amount of stuff we have, we are probably one of, if not the largest in the world.
Yeah.
So it's very impressive. Let me just take this moment to congratulate you.
Thank you.
I know owning your own business is always a risk in the beginning. You guys, if you haven't seen our first podcast on how Chris and Ed met and how they started, please watch that. It's one of our most popular podcasts.
That was our first podcast,
very first
right?
one, Between the Studs #1, where they went more into detail about that. But any entrepreneur takes a risk. And you guys just had a mindset, you had a knowledge, you had a skill set that made you guys successful. And every year you have grown. And told this store is what it is today, and it's still continuing to grow. How did you do it? What's your secret sauce?
Well, before I get into my own backstory and secret sauce, just because we are the world's one of the world's largest building brick toy stores doesn't mean we're one of the world's most profitable building brick toy stores. I can guarantee you Lego is more profitable.
Oh, yeah. Well, they make it.
Lego doesn't like anybody making money on Lego bricks except them. And I don't blame them. It's their product. So we get absolutely no support, no corporate support, no deal with Lego, no contract with Lego, no Lego from Lego, and especially no discount from Lego.
Yes.
So the other thing is there's probably other building brick toy stores that are more profitable than us. One of the things that stops us from, and we'll get into this more later, from being more profitable is we just buy so much Lego. So instead of being rich, Ed and I are Lego rich. We have a lot of Lego. And so people come into our store and they're like, wow, you guys have so much Lego. You must be killing it. And it's like, well, if we were killing it, we wouldn't have all this Lego. Right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the problems with getting successful is that you're out there more and more people are discovering, hey, there's this store here that buys Lego. So we advertise, and instead of getting all these people coming in and buying our Lego, we're getting a lot of people as well coming in and selling us their Lego. And we don't want to be a pawn shop. Pawn shops have bad reputations for being a pawn shop. You know, they don't pay much. They sell things for super expensive prices, whereas we want to be fair. You know, we want every single person that comes in the door to have a good experience, and I treat everybody like they have more Lego at home. So I want them to have a good experience selling to us. I want to give them a fair price where they feel fair, that they've not been ripped off and justified, that they would want to come back and sell me the rest of their Lego.
Yes.
And that happens in like 50% of the cases.
Yeah.
So it's very important to have a positive selling experience.
Absolutely.
Or trading or buying.
Absolutely.
So getting into what qualifies me to have this discussion with you, it started when I was little in understanding finances and money and investing. I always collected everything. Coins, baseball cards, comic books, action figures. And it's funny with action figures. I didn't collect them at first. I played with them. And then when I was done playing with them, then I started collecting them. You know, what else are you going to do with them? In the 80s, we didn't have the internet. So to get stock prices, we had to get the newspaper every day and look in the newspaper, and they'd have the top 100 stocks. Actually, they would have thousands of stock prices. I could imagine the internet really hurt newspapers in that regard.
Yeah.
And he would have me, you know, kind of play a fantasy stock trading game where I would choose stocks that I liked and kept track of them, and I wrote them down every day, and I did a graph on them, all on paper, which today there's so much information on the internet to keep track of your stocks. No one would ever do that.
Yeah.
But it was a good idea of my dad to give me the background in investing and how you can buy something today for $1 and it might be worth $2 tomorrow, or it might be worth 50 cents tomorrow. And with the stocks that I was keeping track of, I did most of them actually went down in price just because I liked the sound of that.
Yeah.
So in the 80s, Benetton, the United Colors of Benetton, was a clothing company. And I was like, oh, I've heard of them. I'm going to choose that stock. Crash. You know, that one went down pretty bad. So I guess that's what got me interested in finance and doing things like that. Then my mom was an antique dealer, and she did crafts.
Okay.
So she would go to craft shows and sell her crafts. She would buy antiques and stuff like that, like old chests, paint on them, and resell them. So she was dragging us along to her antique store that she had and the craft shows, and me and my brothers started selling Britons, they were called. They were made in Britain. They were plastic soldiers on metal stands, specifically the knights. We like those the best. But they also had like beef eaters and very English stuff. You know, we became wholesalers of that. My three brothers, and we would set up booths at these craft shows and sell Britons. And from there, it went into comic books and baseball cards. We would go to comic book shows, baseball card shows, and actually, instead of just going and buying, we would actually go and sell And my brothers always teased me. I was the youngest of three. I would sell my comics a lot of times for less than I paid for them, and I really didn't make any money.
Yeah.
But I was selling them, and then I could buy more. But it was an important lesson to learn. You know, you don't start out being successful. A lot of successful entrepreneurs will fail multiple times in business before they succeed. Donald Trump's a good example of that. Donald Trump lost a lot of money and has been bankrupt before completely mastering, and he stayed in the same real estate business too, and then he killed it. You know, he learned from his mistakes and then was able to succeed. Fortunately, I learned from my mistakes. I made those mistakes when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I didn't make those same mistakes.
Yeah, as an adult.
Because honestly, I wouldn't be able to afford to make those mistakes as an adult and still have this store.
Yeah.
So, you know, I really enjoyed buying and selling things. And then this was all before the internet. So people had, if they wanted collectibles, you had to go to a baseball card or a comic book show. You just don't see those as often anymore.
No.
I went from baseball cards to comic books because with baseball cards, you can't really do anything with them. With comic books, you could at least read them and then have a collectible item. When I went to college, I got my degree in business and didn't really have plans on what to do, but I chose the finance track because I enjoy spreadsheets, I enjoy investing, I enjoy percentages, data, statistics. So I chose the finance route. While I was in college, I started going to yard sales, buying things at yard sales, selling them on eBay. eBay had just come out in the 90s, and it was awesome. Actually, Yahoo had auctions before eBay.
Wow.
And with Yahoo auctions, they were free. And because they were free, that's where all the scammers started coming on. You know, so I started on Yahoo as a poor college kid, not able to afford anything. And I was selling video games, Nintendo 64 games and stuff, buying consoles from people and reselling them on Yahoo auctions. And then had some bad experiences on there with scammers, so I went to eBay, which was more of a premium site because did have to pay to use it from a seller's perspective. So that was in the late 90s when eBay was just getting started. So that is when I really discovered Lego, because I bought a huge collection, what I would call a haul now, from a yard sale, and I had no idea what I was getting into.
Oh, what you started.
Yeah, so, you know, I bought it, and I really always liked collecting toys. Like I said, my action figures, I kept them, and then I put them on my shelf, and I just really liked seeing them on my shelf. So I would buy more action figures when I saw them and put those on the shelves. So G.I. Joe guys and Star Wars guys, the vintage ones, are what I really like still today, and I still like to display on my shelves. Even though there's really nothing else I can do with them myself. Some people will play with them, they'll take cool pictures with them, stop motion, or customize them. But at this point in my life, they just sit on my shelf to look at, and I love it. So I bought the Lego collection at the yard sale, and went to put it on eBay, and I was like, what do I do with this thing? Like, you got all these sets that aren't complete on eBay. If you list something as a set and it's missing a piece, I mean, no matter what it is, if there's a flaw, you could get negative feedback, a return. It's got to be relatively perfect or perfectly described.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a good enough expert at Lego to really look at this. I remember there was some big spaceship there. This was in the late 90s, and I just can't think of what actual NASA ship that would have been. It was a realistic ship.
Okay.
I could probably figure it out. But it was probably about that big.
Wow.
And that's what really attracted me to it. If it was just a bulk bin of Lego, I might have been like, but this thing was built, you know. So I went to sell it on eBay, and I was like, I have no idea how to list this thing on eBay. So I put it in the attic in my little apartment that I had at the time. That was the first of many Lego boxes that started accumulating in the attic. I was like, I didn't know why or what I was going to do with them, but I knew that I needed them.
I was going to ask you, what attracted you to it? If you weren't selling them, why did you continue to buy them? Were they really good deals? Did you have a vague plan of the future?
So when I did look on eBay, I saw that they were selling for a decent amount of money, even in the 90s. Lego is expensive, and it's a system of play. So people would even pay good prices for bulk Lego on eBay. So I knew that it was something that you could buy cheap at a yard sale and resell, if you had to, resell it as a bulk item later on. But I also knew what prevented me from selling it is I knew that if I could get a set complete, it was worth so much more money than that pile of bricks, right? So
back then in the 90s, how did you discover if a set was complete or not if you weren't familiar with it?
Well, I didn't complete sets in the 90s.
Okay, so you didn't even...
Yeah,
you just knew it was incomplete.
That's when I started hoarding it.
Okay.
And knowing that, hey, this is something that I can buy, it's good quality toy. At the time, you would go to Walmart and you'd pick up a Lego set and look at it, and it was made in the U.S. or Denmark. The only toy they had on the shelf in the 90s not made in China. And that just impressed the heck out of me. So I was like, I really like this product. I'm going to hoard it. And who knows, maybe I'll build a castle out of it one day. Then I had my son was being born for the first time. I had graduated from college. I got my degree in finance. I wanted to work on the stock exchange or be a stockbroker or work somehow in the financial industry. But this was 2000, 2001, and there was a huge dot-com bubble burst, and everybody in the financial industry, all the firms were laying off hundreds of thousands of employees. So it was the worst time to graduate with a degree in finance. So I ended up going into the home mortgage services, which was hiring at the time, and I worked for Wells Fargo Financial and as a credit manager, where I learned a lot about credit and personal credit scores, home appraisals, a lot of things that I found very interesting being a finance major, and how important it is to have good credit, right? And that good credit applies to good feedback on Google, good feedback on eBay. I mean, it's just your reputation.
Yeah.
So it was that's something that's really not taught in school these days. Credit scores, how to get credit, how to stay out of debt. This is all things that, it's so important for life lessons, but unfortunately most of us learn by failing and then having to rebuild our credit. It was an interesting job to have right out of college, and I learned a lot doing it. From there, I didn't really enjoy it after I mastered it. I was like, giving out home loans at the time. It was like 24% interest on home loans.
Yikes.
Which, in comparison, it's like 3%, 4% now. I think it's 4% now. And of course, this was people with bad credit, so their interest rate was higher. From there, I went on to work at my local newspaper, which was owned by Gannett, which is one of the world's largest newspaper companies. And they own USA Today and all the a large portion of your hometown newspapers. So we had a lot of resources. So they hired me as an online marketing consultant. And this was in the early 2000s, and banner advertising was getting really popular at the time. All those banners you see on the internet, vertical, horizontal, side banners. And I was like, I was young, so they assumed I
new computer stuff.
Could do it, so they would send me out with the traditional sales advertising people that were selling ads in the newspaper, and they would have me explain banner advertising to all these business owners, which at the time, no one knew what banner advertising was. No one knew what click-through rates were or impressions or anything like that. And so it was like speaking a foreign language. And the sales reps started not bringing me with them because it was just so confusing to their, and plus they were realizing that if they spent money with me on the website, they weren't getting traditional as much revenue ads for their own commissions, in the newspaper. So they stopped bringing them. So I had to cold call, and no one likes cold calling. No. But I did it for a few years, and I was like, well, I want to do more. So I got my master's degree in business administration with an emphasis in finance, and from the Purdue School of Business at Salisbury University in Salisbury, Maryland. But with being an online marketing consultant, I did learn a lot about internet marketing, how the internet works, and SEOs, search engine optimization, website building, all the important stuff, So from there, I got my master's degree. I went into the logistics industry, which was and always has been booming, and ended up succeeding in that big time as a freight broker, and which is buying and selling trucks, basically cold calling customers in a way, and getting them to give you their freight, and then you're going and finding drivers to haul that freight.
Okay.
And you're keeping the arbitrage. They're paying you $1,000, you're paying the truck $800, I'm making $200. So we actually got into hauling commodities for the New York Commodities Exchange and the London Metal Exchange. And the biggest commodity was copper. So truckloads of copper. So copper is traded on those commodities exchanges. And when it's sold from one buyer to another, sometimes it's investors like Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan. So those were my customers. They would buy it, and they would exchange certificates on who owned the copper, but quite often they would have to move it from one warehouse to another.
Yeah.
And it's,
so you were
it's
there
like
getting all that done.
I was there moving it, and sometimes we would move thousands of truckloads from Salt Lake City, Utah to St. Louis, Missouri. And, each truckload has got 45,000 pounds of copper on it. And it's, we were making good money. It was awesome. And at the time, copper prices, that was when copper prices were just skyrocketing. Doing that, I ran an office of about 30 employees tops. Big office down here in Atlanta. That's when I moved down here from Maryland. Running that office, I just got an office space. I was responsible for finding the office space. So I got an office space up by the Atlanta airport in College Park. And then one day I had a police officer knock on my door, and they were like, "Hey, do you have a business license?" And I've got this office of like 30 employees. We're a pretty reputable logistics, division of our corporate headquarters up in Maryland. And I was like, yeah, up in Maryland, corporate office takes care of all that. And she was like, well, you need one for College Park. And I'm like, oh, I'm sure somebody took care of that. Well, they didn't. That was my responsibility. So I had to go to court, fight it, and then get my business license. And
Did you have to stop operating during that time? Did they force you to stop operating?
There was a window that I got it done in time so that I didn't have to stop operating. But I've got 30 employees. I had hired all of them. I had an HR person working for me. I had managers, sub-managers. It was a pretty big operation that we had. I learned a lot about running a business doing that for about 15 years. The ins and the outs, all the ways from getting insurance to a business license to dealing with people, hiring them. I made a lot of mistakes, and like we were saying earlier, you learn from those mistakes. So fortunately, I didn't even realize it when I went to open this business, but I had all the background knowledge I needed to do it.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings us to where we are today in this conversation that we're having.
I've heard it said that, back to your point about hiring people, that a huge part of being a good boss, a good manager, is finding the right people. It's this unspoken rule that you have to master. It's not always about telling people what to do or finding the most efficient ways. Sometimes it is about finding the right people. And that is a skill, and one that's not easily taught. And I think you have that, obviously. No. So I wanted to give kudos to you on that, definitely.
Thanks. That's, owning a retail business. I asked a lot of advice from people when I was opening my business, and everybody was like, don't do it. Unless you have family members to run the whole thing and you want to be there every day, all day, don't do it. Your employees are going to rob you blind. And apparently this happens, and I know it happens. I worked all over the I've probably had 30 different high school and college jobs. your employees will just rob you blind. I don't worry about that because we have the right employees, like you said. I trust you with lots of valuable stuff everywhere.
Look at this. And that may be that the Lego community, people who are generally into Lego for whatever universal purpose or reason. I mean, even on our comments and stuff, people are generally pretty cool.
People in the Lego community are great.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a toy store. If we can't have fun, I mean, that's the whole purpose of being here.
Yeah.
It's number one to make enough money to be here, and then number two, to have fun doing what we're doing, because it's not worth working. And I learned this from being in the logistics industry. I made great money, trust me, but it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
And it wasn't satisfying.
Yeah.
Moving copper from one warehouse to another is like, this is satisfying.
Yeah.
Seeing people come in the door, wow,
Yeah.
and then buying something and helping them find what they came in looking for or didn't even realize they were looking for, and then getting them into such a healthy hobby.
Yes.
Is satisfying. So,
what was the most surprising part to you? Like you said, you were warned, people told you things, and then you found out some of that stuff really wasn't true, at least for us. But was there anything surprising once you had your own business?
Well, it's not that it wasn't true. It's finding the right people.
Yes.
And our success has come from having the right employees. In our first year of being open, Gloria Erickson called me up and said, "Hey, we just moved here from Thomaston. And my son, Steven Erickson, is still, I think he was still in high school, and he was like, he's looking to get a job. It'll be his first job, and he knows a lot about Lego." And I'm like, well, bring him in, and we'll talk to him. And so we hired Steven in our, first year.
Yeah.
And he was, the amazing, most incredible builder I had ever met.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we just had such a great relationship with him that he moved on, and he moved on to Publix, then he moved on to welding school, he moved on to being a welder, and had such a great relationship. Now he's back working for us on weekends, you know? And it's having a relationship with your employees and knowing where they're coming from and their background. I started just hiring people I knew from that I had met through our homeschool community, because we homeschooled our kids, and that's when we hired John. John and Alex, his brother, were our first employees ever. They were our employees filling Bricklink orders out of our Ed and I's garages before we even opened a store or thought to open a store. And we trusted them. I knew their parents.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I'll
tell your parents.
Yeah, exactly.
What boss can
right?
say that?
Yeah. And then we go to a large church. We started hiring people from my church. I hire people with references, and those references are people that I know.
Yeah.
So if somebody lists somebody that I know, and we're gonna have a better chance of getting a job here. So, and a lot of it is reading people and seeing what type of people they are. So you were a customer of ours. I mean, you were no stranger when you said, "Hey, I'm interested in maybe working here." I mean, I didn't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
I knew you. Yeah. I was like, yeah. I mean,
come on.
When can you start?
Awesome. Yes. I remember that day you guys were down and took me down to the basement. And I said, "I saw that Facebook ad," and you were like, "Yes." Pretty much.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Now let's get into the articles you see coming out recently about how Lego is worth more than gold. And I touched on this a little before, that sometimes you hear that about coffee. Copper is worth more than the weight of gold and things like that. First of all, you've talked about it on a live stream before.
Yep.
But tell us, number one, is that really true?
So I invest in gold. It is a good investment. Silver is a good investment. Gold's a good investment. Copper is not a good investment if you're going to hold on to it, because it
fluctuates too much? Or?
No, it takes up too much space for what you get. It's too cheap, right? Silver and gold make good investments because they don't take up space. The cost of having it are not high.
Okay.
Right? So silver and gold, that's why they're such good investments to have.
That's an interesting thing to think about. the cost of having it. That's an interesting concept to kind of wrap your brain around. Whatever you're investing in, how much does it cost to keep it, to own it, to store it? Okay.
And then the other thing to think about is how easy it is to sell. Silver and gold are extremely easy to sell, and most people don't actually hold on to their silver and gold. They buy exchange-traded funds where a piece of paper says that they own this much gold or this
like
much
the
silver.
copper you were talking about.
And that's even easier to buy and sell. It's more liquid. Right?
Okay.
So that's another reason why it's a good investment. It's like stocks.
Okay.
And silver and gold do not fluctuate as much as stocks, so that's why people invest in them.
Okay.
And they have for thousands of years.
Yes.
One thing I don't like about silver and gold is that it's like, why is it worth that much money? What if they found a planet that had gold on it? Or, just a huge treasure of gold. All of a sudden, the gold prices go down.
Well,
and then what can you actually do with silver and gold? Now, silver has a ton of purposes. Very good purposes. Gold, not so much. It's a little too expensive to have much purposes other than a ring.
This almost getting into conspiracy theory, but you hear those things about like there's like 2 or 3 giant corporations that own all the diamond mines, and they're intentionally controlling the output of diamonds to keep the price high. So that could be true for gold and silver. Who knows?
And then here's one thing I don't like about these articles that say Lego is worth more than gold. So what they're talking about is if you buy, let's say in the year 2000, you bought a Lego set and then you spent the same amount of money on gold, you would have earned, that Lego set would have appreciated more than the gold. However, you could sell that gold and you don't even have to pay commission fees in trading stocks and exchange traded funds and gold, so there's almost no fees at all to sell it, and there's no fees with holding it because you're not actually holding that gold or stocks or anything else where there's a marketplace for it, a purely intangible marketplace. Whereas that Lego set, you had to hold on to it for all those years.
Store it somewhere.
I was putting mine in my attic when I first got started because I didn't have room anyplace else. And, we're in Georgia. It gets over 100 degrees in the attic. It really wasn't bad, but it wasn't the best place to have it. It should be a temperature-controlled place. Sets could get crushed or damaged, and then to go and sell that set, it's not like it's free to sell it. To get full price, you'd have to list it on eBay or Amazon or one of those other sites where you've got 15-20% fees just to sell it on there.
That's how high the fees are? 15 to 20%?
They can be. It depends on how much business you're doing on it. Actually, this is Ed calling. Let me ask him how much. Hey, Ed. Hey, Justin and I are doing a podcast right now, so you're live.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, what's the fee to sell on eBay these days?
I think it's close to 20%. Plus, you're also paying a percentage on shipping every time you turn around.
They didn't used to charge you on shipping. Now they're charging you on shipping because what people were doing is asking a lower price, but then charging a lot on shipping.
Yes.
So that eBay didn't charge you on shipping.
And you pay tax.
Then you get taxes, and then you pretty much have to have like a store, which is a subscription service. So our store was the lowest store cost. Hey, Ed, I'm gonna run. Okay. Thank you for answering that. I don't know how you knew I needed to know that. Thanks for calling. Our cost was $25 a month for a smaller store on eBay. And this is my same account that I had been using since the 90s. So that was $25 a month that I had to pay. And we just don't sell on eBay anymore. I don't like selling on eBay. The customers are usually one-off customers that will never be back to buy from you again. Because if they were going to continue to buy from you, they'd just buy from your website. But a lot of them are buying on eBay because they don't know
where
else to go. And so they don't actually know what they're buying either. So if you're selling a brand new sealed Lego set on eBay and you get full price for it, what it's worth, okay, you're going to pay at least 20%. You're going to have to ship it. The shipping supplies cost a fortune. I mean, you wouldn't believe we pay thousands of dollars every month for shipping supplies just for our own website. Boxes, large boxes to ship a set in, are like $3 each, and that's our bulk price that we pay. Now, yeah, you can find boxes behind Walmart, or reuse your friends' Amazon boxes. Anytime I find I brought 2 boxes to the store today from packages that we got in the mail. Any chance I get,
save on those boxes.
I'm gonna save a box. But then you've got to wrap that box. I waterproof them because too many delivery services leave your packages out in the rain. And then guess whose fault it is when the delivery guy.
Shipper.
Yeah, it's my fault.
Yeah.
that the post office left that out in the rain. So I wrap them. If it's a huge set, I'll wrap it in a trash bag, but we have shopping bags that I use to wrap a lot of sets. Envelopes, padded envelopes to ship minifigures. You're talking 25, 50 cents each. They used to be 25 cents. I think I'm paying 50 cents now because of inflation. Everything's just gone up in price. Storage. So, for instance, we're probably paying well over $2,000 a month as a store for storage space, and that's bulk storage space to store our Lego in. We're talking empty boxes that we're really not making money on, instructions that we're not really making money on, and then stuff that we just don't have time to sell over at our storage locker. Storage is a massive expense that you have to consider. Gas. I used to drive everything to the post office before I got into the flow or habit of having them pick it up at my house. But if the mail lady is going to pick it up at your house, you have to live in a safe neighborhood. You can't put packages outside and leave them out there for them to pick up because somebody could drive by and steal them.
Yeah.
We've had stolen packages in our neighborhood, don't get me wrong, but I set my office up when I was working from home. Before I opened the store, I was selling full-time on eBay and Bricklink. So I set my office up, so just like this, we've got a window right here. I could see my mailbox, and I would have stacks and stacks of packages out there at the mailbox ready to go, and then she would pull up, scan them all, put them in her truck. But what if it was raining? I wouldn't be able to ship out that day, or I'd have to bring them to the post office myself. Gas, you just cannot discount the price of gas. I mean, gas is so expensive to drive to the post office. Well, I'll do it while I'm going out to the grocery store. It doesn't matter. You're still going out of your way to go to the post office.
Yeah.
Then the time. I mean, how long does it take you to go to the post office? If I wanted to go to the post office right now, I'd be like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So time is, you have to consider the time that it takes you to do all these things. And is it fun? Do you enjoy doing it? Do you enjoy going to the post office and dealing with the postal workers and waiting in line? Do you enjoy having to reorder boxes every month and envelopes every month, and you don't realize you have to reorder them until they're gone? And then in which case you got to run to the dollar store and buy a $1 padded envelope to ship out your minifigures. There's a lot of costs associated with selling Lego for full price to be able to prove that the market price is real. So you're selling it for $120 and you only paid $100. That's a 20% return. But your fees are going to be greater than 20%.
And that's not even including inflation. That, if I don't know how much that goes into account when you calculate stuff, but if you paid for a $30 set 2 years ago and it's now worth $60, you're not really doubling your money. Especially there's been a 3% at least inflation every year.
You're right in a way, but the Lego set inflation should affect that Lego set as well.
Got it.
So
Okay.
that it's gone up in the same percentage.
Got it. Okay.
So don't get me wrong. I am not saying don't invest in Lego. These are just things that you have to think about. And there are things, most Lego fans are investing in Lego because I can just go to Walmart or go to the Lego store and buy something that I love, and I can sit it on my shelf and think that it's an investment, and it's cheap. It's very cheap to invest in Lego. You can buy a $20 set. The Mandalorian Battle Pack is $15 right now. you know that's going to be like $30 in a couple of years, right? If you don't open it.
Yeah. And keep it in temperature control.
But one of the problems with that, and the people who are reading this Gold article, and what's going through their mind is, I'm going to go start buying more Lego. And they might open it, or they might have their kids open it. But these are the same people that need to think about priorities and where they need to be investing. I'm sure you've always heard you need 6 months, you need enough money saved up in the bank to cover you for 6 months of being able to live without income. So you need to be able to pay your rent or your mortgage, your insurance, any gas that you want to do. You need to budget out, and you need to make sure that you have that much money in your bank account before you go buying Lego sets as an investment.
Yes.
Now, it's one thing if you're going to buy them and put them together as a leisure hobby.
Yeah.
That's part of your leisure budget that you should have. But if you're going to buy them as an investment, you need to have
everything else covered.
Everything else covered first.
Yes.
Okay? So first, the number one priority you need to have is 6 months worth of money in the bank that you can live off of.
And that includes groceries, house payment, car payments, all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Number 2 and 3 kind of clash here. It's through your job, you could have a 401k, and then you can have a Roth IRA, right? Not through your job. Your 401k at work, if they match it at all, you need to max out that matching. If they don't match it, you need to max out your Roth IRA first. And then if you have any extra to put into your 401k at work, do that. The Roth IRA is better than your 401k at work. However, the 401k is better if you have matching.
Correct.
So you need to max out the matching option of your 401k at work. And if you don't have that, you need to max out your Roth IRA contributions, which I can't remember what they are now, but it's like $3,000 a year or something like that. Not a lot of money, but you do need to do that before you invest any money in Lego. You could buy Lego for fun and leisure, or if you get a good deal on it.
Yeah, but if you're considering it an investment,
as an investment,
do these things first.
You need to do these things first. Yeah, the Roth IRA, what makes that so attractive is that you can you're putting after-tax money into it, so that when you take it out, when you turn, I don't know, what is it, like 65 years old?
65, I think.
When you take it out, you don't have to pay money on that. But my parents and my in-laws, they're all at the age now where they have to start taking their money out of their 401k, and they do have to pay income taxes on that. So that's something to consider. That's what makes a Roth IRA so much better. And then if you have kids, no matter how old they are, and you do want them to go to college, you should be investing in a 529 plan, because up to whatever your state that you live in will allow you to deduct from your income taxes. So in Georgia, last time I checked, it was $2,500 a year per child you can deduct from your income taxes that you put into your 401k, your 529 plan. So I have 2 kids. I'm going to put the maximum amount I can into those plans.
Yeah.
This is all very important stuff to me because I am a finance guy, and I don't care if after I do all these things, if I don't have any money left over to go on vacation or go out to eat, that's fine, because these things come first.
Yes.
Because this is me and my family's future. If there is money left over, then you could look at other assets, non-traditional assets. And non-traditional assets are Lego, gold, silver, sneakers. Sneakers are a big investment that appreciate in value. It's all very interesting stuff once you get into these alternative investments. Another thing that we could talk about is the costs associated with running a business. So we were just talking about your casual Lego investors. But if you're actually thinking about making a business out of selling Lego, we've been open for over 6 years now, and we still struggle every month to, not struggle, but we have to take into effect all the costs that we've got. It's insane. It's like your local government, the federal government, they don't want you to make money.
Yeah.
They want you to be there and make money so that you can give them everything you've got left over at the end of the month or at the end of the year. So we've got our number one cost that we have is actually buying Lego. So like about 3 years ago, I said to my son, I was like, hey, you know how much money we spent on Lego this year? It's $150,000 Atlanta Brick Co. spent on Lego. This might have been 4 years ago. And he said, Dad, you could buy a Lamborghini with that much money. And I was like, can you really buy a Lamborghini with that much money?
You should have said I
It's
bought.
like, wow.
I bought several Lamborghinis.
Yeah, I did.
They're-
Speed
they're-
Champions, Technic. Yep. So, you know, buying Lego is we can't really control how much Lego is coming in our door, and we don't want to say no.
Yeah.
You know, so that was 3 or 4 years ago. I won't even say what we're spending now on Lego. That's our biggest expense. Second would be employees. We spend a lot of money on employees. They all add up. We have like 30 employees now, and the cost of those employees just add up.
Yeah.
For every $100 I pay someone, I have to pay $10, 10% to the state for in taxes, and then you're paying the state in taxes. So just the employee cost of the taxes alone are ridiculous.
Why do they charge you? What is their
They charge
mental?
the employers? Well, for the unemployment insurance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
worker. So unemployment. So if you go file unemployment, I've paid in. And
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say they're charging you for employing local
Yeah.
people. That's
yeah,
but it's-
isn't it ridiculous? The other and here's I'm going to get into another thing here in a minute. Well, we'll talk about it now. So buying Lego is our biggest expense, and then at the end of the year, what we don't sell, we have to pay taxes on. So the bigger our inventory is, the more money we have to pay out in taxes at the end of the year. Now that's a county thing, and all counties are different. But the way our county works is they do an inventory tax, and it sucks. It's not fair. What if you had a bad year and you didn't sell anything? Then you got to pay more money at the end of the year because you got all this Lego left. So being a business, in our county at least, you can't really be a collector.
Yeah.
You got to sell the stuff.
Yeah.
You can't afford to hold on to it.
That law just seems like it incites cheating and lying. People,
I would imagine.
businesses.
So we got audited in our 4th year. We got audited by the county, and they came and they did an inventory audit of us. And we passed with flying colors. We were reporting everything correctly. However, the time that it took me to
prepare for that.
prepare for that audit was just excruciating.
Yeah.
Excruciating. And it's like, why would you do that to your local businesses?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not very nice.
I'm serving the community.
Yeah.
It's why would you do
Yeah.
that to me?
And we're bringing people in from the outside, and they're going to lunch and spending the night sometimes and going to other businesses. So, so there's that to consider. And then after we sell Lego, we're going to have to pay income taxes on that at the end of the year. So there's so many costs involved. So employees was number 2. Third was rent. We're paying not only to rent the building, but we have to pay for electricity, heat, gas. It all adds up. These super bright lights that are on us right now,
Yeah.
we're paying for to use them.
But hey, we look
right?
good. We look good. It's worth it. It's worth it.
Taxes, insurance, workers' comp insurance. Our taxes go up. The more inventory we have, the more insurance we have to buy to cover that. And that goes up every year. Our workers' comp insurance went up from $1,200 a year to $4,000 a year this year.
It sounds like you're.
That's insane.
Yeah.
It's the costs, the business license, just getting the business license renewed every year is a multi-level process where you've got to provide your balance sheets, your income statements. And then you're supposed to renew your business license early, in like January. Well, I don't even have my taxes done until like February.
Yeah.
To even provide that income statement, and it's like, so then I pay late fees on the business license, and but we always get it, and you have to.
Yeah.
Renewing our trailer, we have 4 trailers that we use for storage and to go to shows and to pick up Lego. Every year we have to renew those. It's like $50, and we have to do it. Just taking the time out of your day to just do that is very important. renew your federal and state corporation fees every year. Supplies are insane. Like I was saying with your shipping supplies, bubble envelopes. You gotta ship minifigures out in bubble envelopes so that you save on shipping. But at the same time, you're paying 50 cents each for those envelopes. They're expensive. Tape. You wouldn't believe how much tape we go through.
Oh, I know. I hear it.
It's like, didn't I just change this roll of tape?
Yeah.
This is insane. We're spending thousands of dollars on tape, thousands of dollars on boxes, envelopes, paper to print the label out on. We go through so much paper, and just going and getting that paper, having to reorder that paper, for me, it's almost a full-time job. We're not big enough to hire an office manager to do these things.
Yeah.
Hopefully one day we are. These are all things that you have to consider when you're selling Lego. You have to really enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
I haven't built a Lego set since I opened this business. I have made a couple of my own mocks, but it's really turned into a job.
Yeah.
You know, a job that I love. Don't get me wrong, I love it, and I want to do this for the rest of my life. But it is, a lot of people will open Lego stores because they love Lego, and a lot of people open bars because they love to drink. And that's why the success rate of bars is 12%.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you want to open a Lego store, do what we did and start small. You know, start doing it from home. Sell online, sell on Facebook Marketplace, and then see how much you like that. And everything you don't like about it, the shipping of the items out, packaging it up, the complaints, multiply all that by 100. And if you don't think you can handle that, and
don't do it.
And actually not build with Lego again, do not open a store.
Okay. Sounds like you're really scaring people from doing this.
Well, we had a Bricks and Minifigs open up in Columbus while we were open, and I think they lasted a year, if that. A good friend of mine had a store in North Atlanta, and he opened a year before us, and he closed a year after we opened. So he was only open like 2 years. Somebody was running a large bricklink operation that got to the point where they actually had to lease space out of Atlanta. They got out of it and closed down. And we just had a small store open up in Atlanta. And I hope the best for them, but they spent a lot of money on buying into a franchise. And what you get is they tell you kind of how to run your business. And if you need to buy into a franchise to get told how to run your business, then you shouldn't be opening a Lego store. So that's something to really consider. Either you can run it on your own or you can't. You should not pay into a franchise to tell you how to do it. What you should buy a franchise for their name, right? Subway, McDonald's, Chick-fil-A. Not for them to tell you how to run your business. If you have to do that, then you shouldn't be opening a store. Anybody could start from home, virtually risk-free, doing it online. Do it online. Do it online, get your business going. That's what Ed and I both did. We did it online honestly, I've been selling online since the 90s. Ed has too. And then I turned it into a full-time job when I left the logistics industry. Loved working from home. I loved it. I could go fishing anytime I want, go golfing anytime I want, take the kids with me. Once I opened the store, forget about it. All that freedom was gone. I've been here every day since. So, and I'm probably, honestly, we're probably less profitable. We have more Lego. But I was making more money selling Lego from home than I am at the store.
Because of the overhead and the employees and...
But it is... what we have created is wonderful. And I think someday there's going to be bigger payouts.
Yes.
So there's a lot of risk involved in it.
So. I always thought that people like you who are entrepreneurs and their brains just work differently than most people. Like everyone wants to open a restaurant, everyone wants to open a bar or something, but it takes a certain type of mind to be able to jump feet first and have not only the knowledge, know-how, intelligence, and background and experience, but also the type of brain to risk it. There is a risk to risk it all to open a business. And like, that's not part of my personality. I'm just too safe. I don't think I could open my own store. So I'm glad there's people like you in the world that do have that mentality and do have, it's a calculated risk, but it's still a risk.
And, it's that type of brain. Everybody has different brains, but, you're not the only one with your brain. There's other people that think similar to you out there. And for one small example, I like seeing people come in the store and they buy already built sets, so they can add it to their Lego collection. Mark Erickson buys built sets. Hey, I can save so much time by buying this built set. Some of the best builders out there will buy built sets. He's not the only example. Just so they can add it to their mock or their collection and not have to waste time building it.
Yeah.
They want to build mocks, not sets, right? So some people will buy built sets. Kids will buy built sets so they can play with it immediately. Other kids, the other half, and it's half and half, the other half are like, what's the purpose of buying Lego if you're not going to put it together?
Yeah.
And then some even go as far as to putting it together and bringing it back and trading it and selling it the very next day.
Just want to build.
It's literally just putting together a puzzle or a model.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating seeing those two types of people. But also, as far as investors and collectors go, we're seeing a huge number of people who are sitting on massive Lego collections. We just aired that video of the big collection that we paid over $100,000 for. All his sets were sealed. There was nothing built. And it's like, what were you doing with all those, right? Yeah. But what do you do with a baseball card?
Yeah.
You don't even display a baseball card.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. So buying a Lego set and not opening it is the same thing as buying a comic book and not reading it, or buying a baseball card, or those pop things, the Funko Pop.
Vinyl, the Funko Pop. Yeah.
Funko Pop, same thing as Beanie Babies. And I don't want to say anything about Funko Pop going down in value. I don't know enough about them. But what do you do with them?
Yeah.
An action figure, I can fight my action figures together. Those Funko Pop guys, they just stack.
Yeah, most of them move the head, but that's it, right? Or some of them don't even do that.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But it's a huge collectors and investors market. So I would say a sealed Lego set, I would compare it to Funko Pop, but then you have so many more people that would buy a sealed Lego set because they could open it and play with it. Or they could open it and use the parts to build a mock. Or they could open it, play with it, and then use the parts to build a mock. What Mark does with his mocks is he builds them, giant artistic mocks, castles, and then he takes them apart.
Yeah, takes a bunch of pictures.
And I don't get that. I could not do that. I could sell it. I could not take it apart. It's like, who does a painting and then takes their painting apart? It's artwork. Yeah. What Mark does is art. Yeah. And it has always driven me crazy.
Yeah. It's because those pieces are too valuable.
They want to use those pieces for something else.
Yeah. And that we talked about this on our first podcast, but that is why you have chosen Lego rather than Transformers or G.I. Joe. There's a lot of reasons. We won't go into all of them because you can watch the first podcast, but because it's the system, because the parts, because you can still do something with them.
Yes, and that is why you're seeing so many articles about Lego being a better investment than gold. It has a utilitarian value that a lot of these other toys don't have. Yeah. Funko Pop. Yeah. What utilitarian value does that have? Baseball cards. What utilitarian value do those have?
Yeah. Sits on a shelf. Dust collector.
Yeah.
Dust collector.
You've seen, I'm the handyman around here. If something needs fixing, I'm going to try to fix it myself first before I pay somebody to do it. I built most of our store displays, plexiglass, glass, everything I'm going to try to build myself. I enjoy it. That's what I like doing. And just looking in here, you've seen me use Lego pieces for construction.
Yes.
Brackets, space fillers,
washers.
And it's like, I'm like, the other day I was like, I need a washer. I need a washer. Where can I get a washer from? I just went to Home Depot. I don't want to spend another hour going to Home Depot getting a washer and coming back. And it's like, oh, Lego.
Yeah.
You know, a 2x2 round plate, 4x4 round plate, the perfect washer.
Yes.
In most cases, it's going to be enough to hold what you need in place.
Yes. This might send some of our listeners and viewers into a conniption. You drill a hole through a Lego piece.
Okay, yeah. Yes. For one, I will drill a hole in a Lego piece if I want to. We do it for making earrings.
Yes.
That's what it's there for, right? To use.
Yeah.
And we're using it. Besides, it's just a Lego piece, and it's worth like 15, 20 cents. And we do have a lot of them around here.
Yeah.
Usually I'll go to the pick-a-brick table first.
We do try to use the more common colors or cheaper colors.
Yeah.
We're not crazy.
No.
So it sounds like, to sum it up, the answer to the original question, is Lego truly worth more than gold? The answer is yes, but. It's only on paper.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get into the logistics and the costs and the headaches and paying yourself the time, not really.
Lego is not. The articles don't go into those things.
Yeah, because it's the news and they're lazy and they
Yeah,
don't care.
and it makes good news.
Yes.
It makes great news. I read the article. I've read a couple articles on it, and it comes out every 2 years. This article was out 2 years ago. It was out 2 years before that. This is not news.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Lego has been increasing in value for a long time.
Yeah.
But there's nothing new about it.
Yeah.
And when you consider the costs, it may not be worth as much as gold. There are certain sets that have just totally skyrocketed. And if you could get lucky and get that set, like, I guess my mind goes to things that I like a lot. So I like Grand Admiral Thrawn from Star Wars. And that was the Phantom was a $30 set, I think, and now it's like $120, and it's a small set, doesn't cost a lot to store, and it sells like hotcakes. But all Lego has to do is come out with another Grand Admiral Thrawn, and that set could go down.
Yeah.
And stop selling as quickly.
Yeah.
So then it's not as liquid. So it's not the best investment because it could go down quite a bit. We just saw it happen with the Batman tumbler. They came out with the new tumbler with two very similar figures. I never thought they'd make another Heath Ledger Joker, but they did.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And the old tumbler is just coming in left and right.
Yeah.
And then it happened with the Taj Mahal. We sold the original Taj Mahal for $2,500 to somebody in China. The very next month, Lego just came out with the
re-release,
re-release of the same set.
Yeah.
And the price dropped from $2,500 to basically $500. They did the same thing happened with the Falcon, except it didn't drop as much because it wasn't the same set. But it did drop a lot. So we didn't know they were coming out with that set. The guy in China that bought it said, "Oh, I'm just a poor college student. Can you refund me some money?" And we were like, No, I'm sorry, but somebody else might have bought that set.
You're a poor college student with $2,500.
With buying a $2,500 Lego set.
Sounds like you're lying.
You know what his problem was? He read an article about
Lego
Lego's worth more than gold. Now we sold the $2,000 Boba Fett, Cloud City Boba Fett, this week, and the guy asked me, "Do you think this is going to go down in value?" Well, number one, it's gone up ridiculous amounts since it came. Just in the past 2 years, it was like $150. Now it's $2,000. It's hard to believe, but it is selling for over $2,000. I've seen other people sell it for $2,100, $2,125 to be specific, and it actually sold for that price. Not that it's selling for that price. You can ask anything you want for something. That doesn't mean it's worth it. This actually sold for that price. So he asked me, and I hate giving investment advice on Lego. My investment advice on Lego: buy what you want to build, open it up and build it. do not invest in Lego. Buy it because you want to play with it and build it and you like it. Don't buy it thinking it's going to go up in value, even though it probably will.
Yeah.
But he asked about this Boba Fett specifically, and trust me, I wanted to sell it. He did trade for it. He didn't. I actually owed him money. He traded a lot of stuff for it. But I said it's the old light gray, Boba Fett was, the old brown, and the old dark gray. They've already made other Boba Fetts that have printed arms. You know, the one from the newest Cloud City and the one from the UCS Slave One. And the old Boba Fett has only kept going up. I don't think they're going to re-release that Boba Fett. They don't make those colors anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that given all the circumstances, that's a sound investment.
Yeah. But he is the exception because of the reasons you mentioned. Most Lego sets, and that's what's different about gold and silver, is that it's a market deciding, it's the world deciding it. Whereas Lego, you've got one company deciding, are they going to re-release it or not? You never know.
And how similar to the original is it going to be?
Yeah.
They're going to come out with another greengrocer, I think. They're going to come out with another Cafe Corner.
Yeah.
Are they going to reissue the exact same set like they did with the Taj Mahal?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think so.
Possibly.
Yeah.
The prediction. You heard it here first.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
The only thing I had was, the other thing is just more costs.
He has more warnings, more tales of woe.
Sometimes, like I said, the administration behind running a Lego store is very time consuming, and you're paying money out for stuff every day. One of the many things is, we were talking about eBay fees. Well, yeah, you got those eBay fees, but then you also have your PayPal fees too. So there's that.
Does Shopify charge for their
use? We use Shopify for our website. We pay over $500 a month just for the service. Then we're paying a percentage of every single sale that we do on there. And sometimes those sales come from PayPal, which means we're paying twice. Yeah, it's still better than selling on a third party. We just got approved to sell on Walmart.com, which apparently is a really big thing. I've already had random people email me saying, "Hey, can I buy your Walmart.com account?"
Really?
Yeah. So,
because of the name, or?
Well, just no, because we got approved by Walmart.com, and apparently that's not easy to get approved.
Oh.
And I don't. It's 15% to sell on there, plus, it's connected to our website. Then we're gonna have to pay our website, and then potentially other fees on top of that. So now apparently things sell immediately on Walmart.com because it is such a huge marketplace. I don't use Amazon. I don't like it. I shop on Walmart.com, but I've just this past couple months I've had some pretty bad experiences on Walmart.com. In November, I ordered a Christmas gift for my wife. It still hasn't come yet, and I tried canceling it many times. I haven't been refunded. I mean, talk about the time and effort. So I don't want people to have the same problem with my products, so I'm just not selling on there.
Yeah. And this might be a shock to some people if you're unfamiliar. Maybe most people know, maybe they don't. But Walmart.com is like Amazon. It's individual sellers. It's not coming from Walmart. They're just the host.
So a crazy thing happened a few years ago, probably like 4 years ago. We were in our old building. They had the 7965 Millennium Falcon, kind of a classic Millennium Falcon. And they were selling it for $200, maybe $100 on Sears.com. And it was a third party selling it on Sears.com. So Sears they were just using their website as a marketplace.
Yeah.
And a third party sold it. I was like, whoa, this is a good deal. I started telling friends about it. Me and another friend specifically both bought quite a few of them. And they shipped it. They were shipping it from Macon, Georgia, which is just down the road. It went to Tennessee, Maine, Chicago. It was like bouncing all around the country. And I was like, something's not right here. And 2 weeks later, after traveling all over the country, I don't know how they got tracking to even show that. I was just like, this is a fraud, and Sears sent us our money back.
Okay.
But it's basically like Walmart.com is very similar to Amazon or eBay or any of the other sites. It's just a third-party marketplace.
Huh.
And we're trying to just build our own website, have our own repeat customers. We've got our rewards program in place. We want to focus on us, not Walmart.com.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but you're going to keep it, at least for now, because it's so hard to get.
Yeah, I have the account, and they actually, because I haven't listed anything on there yet, they're saying, hey, we're just going to close it. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
So we just closed our eBay account, like I was saying, and we signed up and got approved on Amazon, and we never actually sold on there. Well, we really, really, really just want to focus on our own website, our own brand, and that way we have a lot more control over our customers and their happiness.
And we're paying for that anyway. We're paying for that service and that platform. Yeah. So. All right.
So the only other costs I could talk about costs all day. Trust me. What I went over was like the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
But we do conventions. Getting tables at conventions. When I first did my first Wago convention, it was Brick Fair, Alabama. Tables were $75. Now they're, I honestly don't know for sure, but I think they're about $400 just for one table. And we get 4 tables. That's $1,600. That's you got to sell a lot of Lego at a convention to cover that cost. Then you've got your lodging costs. It was $900 for me and my team to have 2 rooms at the hotel. Food, gas to get there. We have to have a trailer. We have to renew those tags on the trailer. Brick Fair, Alabama is January 15th, Martin Luther King weekend, and that is what triggers my mind to renew the tags on my trailer because it's like, hey, we're getting ready to hit the road. Is everything ready?
Yeah.
Oops, my tags are expired on the trailer. Gotta go online and do that, you know.
How much are conventions part of the important business aspect of it? Is it? It sounds like selling is not that important, or it's just keeping the name out there. Well, first of all, how important is that? And do you ever see a point where we would back off on conventions?
Yes. So I did conventions before I opened the store. And we did after Brick Fair, Alabama. I had so much fun. I was stoked. I did Brick Fair, Alabama that year to get rid of all my Lego. I did not plan on selling anymore. I had to focus on my logistics career.
Mm-hmm.
And I had so much fun. I was like, oh, what other conventions can I do? Oh, here's New York Comic Con. Talk about expensive. The booth was like $3,500 for one table. All right. It's a 5-day convention, so you've got to pay for a hotel in, a lot of people will stay in New Jersey, but then put up with trying to get to the hotel, trying to get to the Javits Center, which is like right there in the middle of New York City. And I was like, I don't want to put up with that. It's worth it to me to just stay to try to find the best deal I can in Times Square, and then you can walk 2 miles to the convention center. So we used to stay on Times Square, and it was actually relatively affordable, like $250 a night, and it would have been close to that in New Jersey. It was just about finding a good deal, right? So, and that was actually a pretty nice hotel. It was Crown Plaza. So we would stay there you had to be there like 6 nights. At a show that big, you have to have a whole crew. My crew was my family. My toddlers were with me. My parents were with me. My wife was with me. When I started doing it, I actually had my customers worked on the New York Commodities Exchange, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and I combined it with a work trip to actually go see them. And it was awesome. Yeah. My wife and I went ahead of time, and it was just great to be able to combine 2 trips into one like that, 2 big trips. We brought my Envoy, which is just like a SUV, right? I built these wooden platforms to stand on so that we could see over the crowd and over our booth to be able to keep a better eye on things. People were stealing things a lot. In New York City, you've got to load into the Javits Center from the street. you or pay a union to unload your stuff for you and bring it to your booth. I don't like people I don't know handling my multi-$1,000 boxes of Lego minifigures.
Yeah.
So we unloaded from the busy New York street into the Javits Center, and so also to get into New York City, they have certain restrictions on what you can pull for a trailer into it and how much you pay in tolls, and you can't. There's no parking for it. It's hard to move around New York City, downtown New York City, with a trailer. So I would load up my car. It looked like a circus truck because I usually take a big trailer with me to shows. So I had a rope. I had a hitch basket. Okay. About 8 feet tall worth of merchandise coming off the hitch basket, and then a rope, multiple ropes tying my haul on the back of my hitch basket to the top of all the stuff tied to the top of my trailer. And it was, I just can't believe, looking back, that I did that.
Yeah.
And especially in New York City.
Yeah.
I would never do it again.
Yeah.
But we did that for 2 years and had the best memories from it. Especially with the kids, but that's all it was. It was so much work.
Yeah.
I would never do that again. And that was around the same time. It was 2011, I think. It was around the same time that fake Lego minifigures were coming out. And the Comic Cons don't enforce vendors from selling fake products. So we stopped doing Dragon Con because they were putting us right beside vendors that were selling fake Lego minifigures. I mean, talk about an insult.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It drive me crazy. Somebody at all the conventions I was doing, all the Comic Cons I was doing, customers would come back later on or during the show and say, hey, I bought this from you and it broke and I want my money back. And it's like, and I would say, well, send me a picture. And it would be a fake Lego minifigure. I'm like, you didn't buy that from me. You bought it from one of the other people.
Yeah.
I'm just the only public company with a face and a name. So I'm the only one you could find. You know?
Yeah.
So, and then the food and everything, the lodging, it's just all so expensive that conventions are great, but they're also a Band-Aid. It takes me a week to get ready for a convention. It's quick cash because you sell a lot of product all at once. But what else could I be doing in that week's time? I could be focusing on my own product here at the store. And so, and over the long term, I think conventions are good for getting our name out there and marketing. And it's good for quick cash. But I'm looking at long-term cash.
Yeah.
I want long-term customers. I want long-term sales. One convention is a weekend and then it's done.
Yeah.
So we're going to conventions still because we're grandfathered in. Like we just signed up for Brick World Chicago today. And we get in. We've been doing it for many years, and it's hard to get tables at these conventions now.
So you'd hate to lose.
So I don't want to lose them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
Do it.
And the store's getting a name. It's almost not quite, but it's almost to that point where we don't need conventions anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Conventions are fun. I love the fun aspect of it, but it's also a lot of work.
Yeah.
And my kids are at an age now where I'm missing. Weekends are my only time off, so I'm missing out on what's going on, especially so that weekend in Chicago, I have no idea if any of my kids are going or not. They might have their own things going on, such as summer camps, but it's Father's Day weekend, so they won't get to spend it with me if they're not there.
Yeah.
So yeah, conventions are great, but as far as the long-term investment of a convention, there's not as much of a need to go.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris, so much for giving us all this insight and into the grim and dirty back end of Lego investing. So you have the information, you have all the knowledge you need. Now it's your decision if you want to invest in Lego, continue investing in Lego. He's given his advice, but I'm not going to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
You decide. But I think the case stands pretty strongly.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if I rambled on about anything.
I found that
you
stuff
could
fascinating.
edit it and cut it out.
No. I found all that stuff fascinating. And yeah, really, really good stuff. So thank you. As you guys already know, we are available as a normal audio podcast. This was one of the least visual Between the Studs we've had in a while. So feel free to just listen to it or play it on YouTube and listen that way. So
Yeah.
thank you guys so much. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe. And we will see you guys very soon. Thank you.